Gran Turismo 7 has dropped probably one of the most controversial daily races that we've had in a while. A lot of people are not really a big fan of this because it is the return of tuning setups with street cars, which is something we haven't had in quite a long time. And they also had another issue where you couldn't even buy these cars from the used dealership on the first day of the race. They have fixed that now, of course, so you can go to the used dealership and buy one of the two required cars for this race. But other than that small issue, I'm gonna tell you why I think this race is something that the game has needed for a very long time, and why I hope that we keep getting stuff like this at least every now and then. To be clear, I'm not asking for this kind of stuff every single week, even though what I think Sport Mode's biggest problem is the fact that we've just been getting mostly Group 3 and Group 4 BOP slop almost every single week ever since this game came out. And now after what feels like a year or two of without actual variety, it seems like some people are having a problem with this race. But most of it, in my opinion, just comes down to not being used to driving without ABS and not knowing how to set up a car. And I think these two skills are something that most people should probably start to learn because it is like a huge part of the game. Learning how to set up a car is one of the main selling points of this game, but I just think that Polyphony hasn't really utilized this feature whenever it comes to the single player and online races in general. So it's not really required to learn these skills if all you do is just play sport mode in the late game phase. And even some of the best drivers that I watch are having troubles setting up a car. They don't even know where to begin as far as like the suspension setup for the tire usage, how to tune the differential, setting up the proper gear ratios that fit the track and the power band of the car. Because to be honest, most people are just used to getting into a BOP Group 3 and 4 car and just driving. And that's where all the skill basically comes down to. Now, me personally, I'm not going to claim that I'm the best at setting up a car. There's obviously issues that I could work out myself. I can pretty much get the car 90% of the way there as far as like making it drive good for me and my driving style. But as far as like squeezing out the last few tenths, that's not something I'm really capable of at this moment. And I'm going to assume that the majority of the sport mode player base at least doesn't really know how to set up a car at all. And if it wasn't for the new data logger feature to where you're able to snipe other people's tunes on the leaderboard, then yeah, I would see this probably as a kind of a bigger problem because that would force people to look up YouTube tutorials or go to GT Planet and find setups from other people, which is a little bit more tedious. But for this daily race, I started out with making a tune by myself without looking up any other guides or looking through the data logger on the leaderboard or anything like that. And I managed to get a pretty solid time getting me into the top 10 fairly early on. And then I started looking at other builds and seeing what people were doing with it, and I made some adjustments to my tune. And eventually, even after learning how to brake better and how to accelerate out of corners without losing grip, I ended up being number 4 on the leaderboard after a few hours of this daily race going live. At this point now, I'm probably like maybe over 20 in the leaderboard by now. Everybody's bought the car and made their setups and getting some laps in, so of course I'll be pushed down eventually. But with the new data logger, it becomes really easy just to copy somebody else's build. The only downside to this is it kind of kills the fun a little bit because after like the first day or two, everybody in the top 10 and almost everybody in general is going to be using almost the same exact tunes. So if everybody just copies everybody else's builds, then they don't really learn tuning that way. But, I mean, I guess it's fine, so there's no exploits or secrets or anything like that. I don't know. I'm still 50-50 on the whole sniping other people's tunes in the data logger. I don't know if I 100% agree with that. Of course, it doesn't show you the GT Auto setup with the wheel sizes, the roll bar, and other small things that can kind of affect the way your car handles, but it just doesn't show it in your tuning sheet. But I think as long as they stop using the PP rating system altogether, then this shouldn't even be a problem anymore, because the biggest problem we had with the past road car tuning races is the PP exploit. Now, yes, PP, haha. But the problem with that was you can set up a car that is massively overpowered compared to everybody else, and it could just come down to like a really specific ballast or suspension setup, or even sometimes putting the right roll cage on or the right wheel size on. Yes, these do have like a small effect to the PP rating, but with the right combination, you can make it go from 600 PP rating to 540, and then you have plenty of room to bump up your power. This was a big problem a couple years ago when we had the Sylvia race at Suzuka, and fortunately for me, I was in a group chat with people who kind of knew what they were doing and gave me like a super overpowered setup, and I was able to stay in the top 10 leaderboard for 6 out of the 7 days that it was up. And then eventually people found the build and I got knocked down pretty quickly. But as far as I know, that is the biggest issue that GT7 has, is the PP rating system. You can still do some weird stuff to make it super overpowered, but this time around pretty much the only restrictions are the tire choice, the weight, the power, and the need for a wide body kit. And it's also really cool that they thought about this as well, because there is another kind of power exploit that you can do that not everybody knows. There's actually a difference between the power restrictor and the ECU tuning. So if you tune down the ECU, it brings down the power and the torque. But if you use the power restrictor instead, then it will drop your power output the same as the ECU, but it won't drop your torque as much, and it will change the torque curve slightly. So you will end up with more torque if you use a power restrictor instead of the ECU power output. But this still will have an effect on your PP rating overall. But if power is your only restriction, then the power restrictor is going to be more effective than dropping the ECU power output. And therefore your car is going to be faster, but it is also going to be a higher PP rating. And to get this car up to 226 horsepower in general, it's impossible without forced induction, and forced induction is not allowed on this setup. So you pretty much just have to fully tune your engine and it will get to 223 horsepower, which is not 226, but yeah, I don't know why they did this. They're 3 horsepower off whenever it comes to that. I even put a brand new engine in it and retuned the entire thing, still just 223 horsepower, but it's really no big deal. But the point is, without the use of forced induction and the fact that all the other upgrades get you to 223 anyways, there's still no room for weird exploits as far as like messing with the power curve and stuff like that. So pretty much all this race really comes down to is finding a tune that you like and that suits your driving style on the top 10 of the leaderboard, and then just learning how to drive the car like every other one. Of course, some setups are going to be faster than others, but especially whenever it comes to the top 10 of the leaderboard, a lot of these tunes are going to be made to just be as fast as possible for one single lap. And as far as like in a race setting where you're doing 12 laps straight, you're probably going to have a tough time driving it and keeping it straight. A lot of these tunes, they're really easy to spin out, but all it takes is that one perfect lap to get on the leaderboard. So just keep that in mind. There are like thousands of tuning guides online if you want to figure out what things you want to adjust. So if you find that one build tends to spin out on the exit of corners a little too much for you, then you could adjust your tune to suit your style a little bit more. Even if like the absolute best lap possible with that car is going to be a few tenths less. So for me personally, I absolutely love this race, and I really hope we see more of it every now and then at least. I think the formula that they got this time around was perfect. The main problem in the past was the PP rating exploits. So as long as they keep ruling that out and they make these build regulations a little more specific, and also think ahead of time and put the cars in the used dealership before the race starts, that would be nice as well. And I can see why they disabled DR, at least for now, but in the future I would like to see DR updates again, because I think tuning knowledge and the skill to not rely on ABS for every single race of your entire career for this game is a good thing, and I think it would be a valuable thing to force people to learn, pretty much. That's just my opinion. A lot of people really hate this idea. They just want to do Group 3 and Group 4 over and over again with BOP, with ABS, with all the assists. I just really don't agree with that. It gets really old really fast, and that's why I don't really do that stuff that often. Most of my time in this game is spent just making random builds. I don't have to make it the fastest thing in the world, of course, but that's like most of the fun that I get out of this game. So seeing that being a little bit more implemented into sport mode, I think is something that this game really needs. This game has over 500 cars. It's had over 500 cars for a while now, actually. And unfortunately, they keep using the same pool of 60, 70, 80 cars, however many Group 3 and 4 has, and that's basically most of the stuff that we get for sport mode. So more variety is a good thing, learning new skills is a good thing. And maybe it might be off to a rough start, but I think if they keep doing this more often, then more people are going to learn how to tune properly. They are going to learn how to use cars that drive funny or cars without ABS and stuff like that. It freshens things up, and it's not just going to be the same old Group 3, Group 4 slop with ABS, where the only thing you have to do is just hit every single mark perfectly. So let me know what you guys think of this daily race. Let me know if you guys think there should be more of them. I absolutely think there should be. They can make use of Skyline GTRs and have like a Race of the Red R emblem type of race. They could do it with NA Miatas. They can do it with K cars. They can do it with pretty much so many different possibilities and ideas that you can do with this type of race. So that's basically it. I'm going to be driving in the Nations Cup Race 1 later today on stream, so make sure you guys are subscribed for that, and make sure you hop into the stream to see me absolutely embarrass myself in the wet in a Formula car. So see you guys then.